Segment 2, Gold and Black Live, joined by Chris Barclay, Purdue's running backs coach. And Chris is, I think one thing about Jeff Brohm's staff is a very unique group of guys that are high energy, good recruiters, good position coaches. Is that all on your resume? Is that all true?
I believe so. I enjoy the game. I enjoy being around the guys and pouring into them, and obviously hitting the road and developing the relationships with these young men, and seeing if we can take this program to the next level.
You're a Louisville guy. This is the Louisville North up here. It's still amazing. I mean, when did you first become aware of the Brohm family? I mean, did you know of Jeff and Greg and Brian growing up as players? Tell me about that, your first experience with the Brohms.
Being from Louisville and going to a rival high school in Mail High School.
You went to Mail,
yes.
Yeah, and they're all Trinity guys.
And they're all Trinity guys, and we won't hold that against
them.
But
Mail's got a great tradition, though,
yes,
too.
Yes, and we state champions this year, by the way.
Yeah, there you
go. But Brian and I actually played in a couple state championships against each other.
Okay.
So I got to know him at an early age. And I was telling Coach, when I was a younger fella, I remember going to Cardinal Stadium and watching him play. I was a young guy on the side, we just playing, kill the man with the ball and everything. I mean, but that was the Pop Warner days, and I remember like how much he had everyone's respect. I mean, he was just a tremendous quarterback, and everybody wanted to go see Jeff play.
Yeah.
And it was some fun Saturdays, tailgating with my parents at those games, and so I kind of got introduced to the Brohm family at an early age.
The thing I think is always interesting is Jeff is soft-spoken. A lot of the guys outside of Jamarcus Shepard, I would just say, pretty soft-spoken group of guys, but you've all got a fire. You've seen Jeff Brohm's fire. Do you have that same, I mean, when you're talking, getting guys motivated, how do coaches get that, you got to be soft-spoken sometimes, but there's a time to light fires too. How have you learned to be able to do that?
I think, you really try to get to know your players. They're all different.
Yeah.
They respond to different triggers, and sometimes you have to kind of elevate your voice a little bit, and sometimes, some guys are more, in the classroom, you just have to really break it down for them on the board in the classroom. Yeah. But I can get animated sometimes. I mean, my guys know, there's a standard in the room, and if we're not upholding that standard, then, sometimes things get a little animated, but it's all in an effort to get the best out of them.
On paper, well, and in reality, you've got your work cut out for you. I mean, obviously, you lose two very prominent players and guys that have carried the football a lot for Purdue, Markel Jones and DJ Knox. Mm-hmm. You had an injury. Tario Fuller struggled to get back on the field. Xander Horvath had made some steps. Tell us where that room is now, and maybe also where it might be this fall when DeJuan and King Daru also get to town.
Well, I think we've had a good spring. The kids really worked hard, really taking some leadership steps, especially Tario Fuller. He's had a good spring. Unfortunately had an injury at the end of it, but I thought it was one of his better springs, since we've been here. Xander Horvath is a young man who's just worked for everything he's gotten, and he's tremendous. I mean, he's a worker bee. He brings his hard hat in his lunch pail every day, so to speak, and I mean, he just comes to work, and all he knows is hard work. He's going to finish. He's going to bust his tail in the weight room in all areas, and he's a guy that we have a lot of trust in to get the job done. He's had a tremendous spring. And so he's done a good job actually helping to bring some of the younger guys along, and Evan Anderson and Alfred Armour.
Yeah.
Those two young men have really, started to make some strides. Alfred, I thought, has had a tremendous spring. Yeah. Evan has missed a little time due to some family issues back home, but he's coming along as well. So we're excited about where we are and where we're headed this fall.
What about King and DeJuan? What do you hope to get from them? It's tough to come in. Mm-hmm. I mean, in just a few weeks and be ready. But what will Purdue fans over time see in those guys, the two commits in the 2019 class?
Well, I think they'll see two very polished players. I mean, those kids have been playing the position for a long time now, and they understand the intricacies of the position. They're very strong young men, so I think that they'll be able to contribute early on in their career. And they've come from great programs where they're used to winning, and so that's going to help us in those games where maybe things are tight and adversity kind of strikes, and we need some guys that are used to overcoming those things and finding a way to win. And you always want to build your program with kids that come from winning programs. So we're excited about those two. I'm looking for those two to come in this summer and have a big summer, and hopefully be able to give us some valuable minutes this fall.
Yeah. All right, now Chris in 2002 and playing for Wake Forest had a big day in Ross-Ade Stadium. Was it 3 touchdowns? But who's counting? And had in the Demon Deacons upset win over Purdue that year. My point is he's a very accomplished running back at Wake, but also had opportunity in professional football as well. Coaches, when you coach, there's certain things you did well as a running back, and you knew what your skills were. As you coach guys, is it easier to coach guys things that you do well, or do you have things that you have to really work on as a coach to say, I need to be able to coach up guys better with this particular skill?
Well, I think you're always trying to find ways to hone your craft and become a better teacher. And sometimes that involves, calling some other coaches. There's multiple ways to skin a cat. But there's some things that come naturally to me to explain to the young men. But sometimes when dealing with some of my fullbacks and things like that, lead blocking techniques and things like that, I have to kind of refer to some older coaches in the business who have coached fullbacks and just the understanding of leverage and hat placement, hand placement, running their feet, having a good balance, good base. Those little intricacies, sometimes you're always looking to fine-tune and find better ways to better explain things so that they understand it and can grasp it and play at a high level.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting skill set. You're still relatively young in the profession and will have a long career ahead. All right, Saturday morning you're going to play a role as this entire football program has been in the Purdue Challenge. The 5K run walk benefits not only the Tyler Trent Research Foundation, but also the Purdue Center for Cancer Research. What's it mean to you? I mean, in terms of, cancer touches everybody, and everybody has their story. What's it mean to you?
Oh, it means the world. Obviously I've had some issues with cancer in my family. I've lost some family members and things of that nature. So it's certainly a disease. It's it's a terrible disease. But I mean, this past season was just unbelievable. The impact that Tyler Trent had on this community, had on our program, our players. Yeah. It was unbelievable. I'd never seen that kind of fight from a young man. Just his spirit was unbelievable, and I'm so glad that we're able to honor him and his family and the legacy that they've left here and continue to leave and inspire other young students and people abroad or wherever so that they can overcome anything. I think that he's forever our captain, and we're excited to raise the money and donate to the research.
All right. Well, we'll be doing that in a big way on Saturday and up to Saturday. Chris, thanks so much for your time. Great to get your insight on our program, and we will look forward to you don't get a lot of downtime because you got recruiting coming up, but you'll have maybe a little bit of time before this all gets going full force. But big year ahead in 2019.
Thank you, Alan.
All right. Thanks, and we'll look forward to Brian Newbert joining us for segment 3. I know he's looking forward to it, so we'll take a 2-minute break, and we'll be back for our final segment of the year on Gold and Black Live.
Going to the Purdue game? Stay at the Hilton Garden Inn, West Lafayette at the Wabash Landing. With over 100 inviting family-friendly guest rooms located just blocks from campus, the Hilton Garden Inn is the choice